Alright, greetings, FilmTube. So this is a quickie video that I just finished the film The Confession by the Greek-French filmmaker Costa-Gravas. And I even paused it too right at the credits. And the reason I wanted to make this was one, just this film is incredibly powerful, one of the most powerful movies I've seen in recent memories, probably this year. And also because I'm already late on returning this to the library. I took too long in waiting to watch it. But essentially what I wanted to say about it, without the benefit of multiple rewatches, this is just a reaction to the movie right now, is that this movie is a very intense political thriller about a French communist who is taken by the Communist Party. He's abducted, initially without being informed of why he is being abducted, and then eventually discovers that it is his own Communist Party abducting him, but that he is accused of betraying the party and is therefore made to confess to his crimes. And, excuse me, this is a movie that starts off initially with a very simple premise of a man who is accused of being guilty of a crime without the legal process of a typical, confession. He is essentially tortured, not in a incredibly violent way like how one might think of torture, but in a sense of being made to not allow to sleep, not allowed to eat, or at least not allowed to eat and with enough sustenance, as well as being made to consistently walk around his cell, to the point where his feet develops scabs and other forms of lesions like that. But it starts off with the simple premise of a man who how do you get a man to confess to crimes that he didn't commit or may not have committed, or committed to the degree that he is being accused, and develops very much into a sense of a critique of communism, but also possibly more deeper than that, a critique of state powers and how they abuse their processes, their legal processes, to get confessions. Because you could say that this is the similar types of confession getting has been performed by the United States and other states. It isn't just, in this case with the Communist Party, he was tortured into confessing, but also the lawyers themselves, his defense, were provided by the state, so it was not in any way a legal trial, a fair trial, I should say. But another component of this film is juxtaposition, juxtaposing, things that are incredibly serious to things that are not. Like it's almost critiquing and making fun of the ineptitude of the Communist Party, specifically in this movie, and how, they are inept in what they think of as justice. He is, if I understood it correctly, he is being brought in for charges where in his past he was a part of a trial where that previous trial was unfair, and now he's going through the same things. And it's like a cycle of the party realizing that there were trumped up charges before, and then they arrest the people who disabused their own power, only to then later, the people who did the arresting or prosecuting also disabuse or abuse their own powers and so forth. But there's it also has one of the most powerful images, or if not image, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say image, sequences that I've ever seen. And I'm not going to say what it is. It's during the trial at the end, where there's a comedic moment. You know, this movie from up until that point has had very little, if any, if I can think of comedy. Nothing in terms of that would elicit laughter. Possibly maybe like some like laughing at the darkness, or laughing maybe if you laugh at the ineptitude of the Communist Party, but certainly nothing that was meant to be laughable until during the trial an event occurs and there's laughter from inside, you know, the film to outside. And it is during this laughter that because when you start laughing, you kind of forget almost of how dark and twisted this trial is, because you're just laughing. You're laughing at the absurdity of the incident. And then Costa-Gravas reminds you, he almost like you're jerked back into being reminded of what this is all about and what's going on, and the horrificness of this trial, which from my understanding is based off of a true story of a book that was written by a communist who went through similar things. And so it is that sequence where you're laughing and then you're just kind of jolted back into reality to remember, you know, holy crap, you know, these horrific things are happening and happen after the movie and continue to happen. And so certainly you can't say that this movie is a, you know, completely anti-communist movie. I think there is critique of communism itself, but I think it goes beyond that in terms of broader, perhaps critiquing states or others, you know, larger powers, and how they disabuse their own notions of what justice is, and how they try to achieve justice. Certainly a movie that I want to own now, especially now on Blu-ray if I can get it, and a movie that I want to study, because there's so much intensity to it, especially with how the director makes you feel how tired the main character is. I mean, you know, so many movies, when it comes to like torture scenes or tired scenes, you know, you just see their baggy eyes, and you see them kind of like lurch around and mumble maybe. But this movie isn't, you know, those kinds of sequences usually are very short in movies, especially like thrillers and stuff like that. You know, typically like the hero will escape or something like that, and then they'll go back to reality, or back to their mission. But in this movie, because it takes place, the majority of the movie is him imprisoned. There's kind of the director got to build on how tired you see, and you see him physically like lose weight, and you see him develop those bags under his eyes. I mean, I'm sure that was makeup, but develop that really craggy look, as well as actual like film techniques that the director used in terms of slowing down time, and the actor's physical performance, and how he like just would fall on his face. And I'm sure it probably hurt. Like, you know, you can't fake that stuff. I'm sure they kind of try to soften the blow, but you can tell like the actor physically looked and exhausted when he would fall. And there was other, again, like I said, slowing down the time and other things that I have to look back and study for myself and see how exactly it was done. But I remember being struck by how tired and how exhausted this man looked and felt. Like it felt it on a visceral level just watching this. It was incredibly intense. So I highly recommend it. It's a movie to watch. It's a movie to rewatch. It's not a fun movie. It's not one that you're just gonna want to pop in sometime and see, you know. But it's certainly one to see. I highly highly recommend it. I'm going to be reading the supplements for sure. And I'm interested now in seeing his other. This is my first Costa-Gravas film, so I know he's done several other political thrillers. It says here that he did a movie called Z, and he did a few others that I'm very much highly interested in watching. So my recommendation, I will leave it at that, and thanks for joining me.